And yes, we are live. You're welcome to Tuesday Live. My name is Wendy Ologe, and I'm the founder of the Intentional Parent Academy. I'm particularly excited today to actually share with you on 5 emotional triggers every parent should be aware of. Many times we are triggered for nothing, but today I'm going to be showing you where those triggers are coming from. All right. So, but before we start, I would like to show you, right? One of the things that you're gonna be seeing at the upcoming Becoming an Emotionally Intelligent Parent course. There's gonna be a bonus class coming from people who would register for that course. Just watch this short video as we proceed. Do you know what your emotional capacity is as a parent? My name is Wendy Oluga, and I'm the founder of the Intentional Parent Academy. In the next 5 days, I'm going to be showing you how to identify where you are as a parent when it comes to what I call your emotional thermostat. Yes, starting from the February 3rd to the 8th, I'm going to give you access to my well-crafted 5-day challenge to test this thing for you. Now, this is only available to parents who have already registered for the Becoming an Emotionally Intelligent Parent course. You want to register now. See you in there. All right, so see you at the Becoming an Emotionally Intelligent Parent course. I'm excited about that challenge. It's the first of its kind, and it's going to wow you. Good afternoon. If you can see me, you can hear me. Let me know that you can hear me and see me, and let me know that you can see me and see me again. I love it when you can see me, right? Understanding emotional triggers is a vital, key point for maintaining healthy communication and fostering relationship within any kind of circle, whether it's your family circle, between your friends. And I'm going to be sharing with you 5 common emotional triggers you should be aware of. You should be able to recognize that is actually one of the things that can help you to be able to manage your emotions. If you don't know what your triggers and where they are coming from, emotional management becomes something that is very overwhelming. Number 1, let me say this before we start. Emotional regulation is a skill, it's not a gift. You need to teach it, you need to model it, you need to practice it daily. I say it again. Emotional regulation is a skill, it is not a gift. Neither is it a prayer point. I dare say. You need to teach it, you need to model it, you need to practice it daily, like your life depends on it. You know the truth of the matter. Most times, we actually sit down to pray for things that knowledge should solve for us. I can just imagine God sitting on his high table and just looking at you and say, my child, do not know that I have paid a price. It's just like you sitting there and say, oh God, give me salvation. Salvation is already paid for. So if you are looking for how to be in quote, in quotes, you want to become that, but salvation is a paid for thing. So you can't start asking God, please give me salvation. Is there? What you need to do is to take it. There are requirements. I remember at the start of my journey, right? I shared that story in my book, Raising the Emotionally Skilled Child. How I prayed to God, and no joking, right? I was praying fervently, and I was telling God that he needed to come and save me because I need to work on my emotions. God is not going to come and teach you how to regulate your emotions. So the past Monday, every Monday, I share what we call the wisdom notes from coach to the parents in the inner circle. If you're not in the inner circle right now, I can't really save you. But hear the story. Now, in the newsletter for this week, I said that when you master your emotions, you actually master your life. And I gave the example of 2 figures in the Bible, Saul, then Eli. And I said these 2 people failed for lack of emotional management. And of course, if you read that whole epistle, you're going to understand in depth what it is that I meant. I love to use Bible stories and scriptures and the things that happen in that place to actually be able to, teach when it comes to parenting, because there are a lot of lessons that we can pick out. Saul couldn't manage his emotions. Part of what happened to Saul was that he ended up becoming envious, ended up becoming angry, ended up becoming, his ego ruined him. And that's a very key aspect of your journey. Whether you are journeying as a parent, as someone who works in an organization, as a friend, if you are lacking in emotional management, you're going to struggle. Now, here is your number one, your number one trigger. And if you're wondering what that whole email is about, you need to join the inner circle. You see that thing, that ticker that is scrolling down. You can see the ticker, right? That is scrolling down. Yes, that's it. And hi, Ellison Betty. Ellison Betty is a YouTube, community member. We'll have a exclusive community member on YouTube channel. Shout out to you. If you are not in the yard, I don't know where you are. All right, so let's go. Number one is feeling disrespected, aka parenting ego. Somebody help me put that in the comment section. Parenting ego is a thing. When your children appear to ignore your instructions, they challenge your authority. You feel disrespected. It can lead to overreaction if it's not managed properly. So I was having a conversation with my husband. Oh, by the way, I'm bringing you the goal for a short Q&A because I want those who attended the communication class to be able to have an in-depth knowledge into a bit of a part, right? Or those who are going to the inner circle parents. I'm going to share the part where ask the part where I need a few clarity. I've had a lot of questions and I decided to broadcast it today, part of that conversation in this Tuesday live, right? Just a tip of the iceberg. Now let's go. It can lead to overreaction. I was having a conversation with my husband about about having teenagers. So we currently have 2 teenagers who are 15 in a few days. And people often say that, raising teenagers is very difficult, you struggle. And every time that I watch my teenagers, I've been a teenage mom, right? I've been a teen mother in the past 2 years. This will be my third year, yeah? 13, 14, we're in 15. And every day I actually prefer to raise a teenager and to raise a child who is not a teenager yet. Why? I have a solid foundation. That is the truth. So it's not something that you need to fight. So if you're fighting with your teenager now, it means that 1, you do not have a strong foundation, and 2, you are not even building, even though you have recognized that you do not have a strong foundation. So what happens is that the moment children turn 13, fight starts. Have you noticed? There's friction because the children are fighting for autonomy. They are challenging authority. Everything is happening at the same time. You are getting angry. So I think I repeated that conversation with my team members this morning. So you ruin ages 13 to 18, literally fighting wars that you shouldn't even be fighting. And then after age 18, the child leaves. And boom. You're not complaining. You don't call me. Every time you don't even call me. You only come back up. You don't call me. No interaction. No. How do you want it to happen? Unfortunately, what has happened in those times is that you traded connection for correction. Yeah. And when you do, it ruins your parenting in adult age. Most of us, one of the reasons we're not as close to our parents is because they traded connection for correction. Is correction good? Yes. But when you trade it for connection, you ruin that relationship for life. Would they still love you? Yes. But it's a different conversation altogether, right? You can be loved and be relevant. I was saying it to parents in the inner circle at the last week. You can be loved and be irrelevant. People can love you and you're not really, they just love you. Some of us have siblings, we just love them, yeah, but they're not as valuable Because one, they have not even built themselves. True, they've not built a relationship. People don't go to people they don't really, don't listen to people they don't really have, in quote, a relationship with. So there's form of some kind of bond that needs to form. So instead of you to, be in the space where you are connecting, you are fighting. So if you are in the stage where you are fighting, come closer, let me tell you, stop fighting. It's ruining your parenting. And if you don't want your parenting ruined, then you want to work on you. You see that parenting ego? What do we call it again in the inner circle? Humility, Amada. Cover it. Cover yourself in humility. Climb down from that table and be very humble through the process. The truth is, most times, your parenting ego is what is leading to you overreacting. And how do you even begin to deal with things like parenting ego? You need to begin to pause before you respond. You need to be able to pause before you respond. Don't start shouting, "Hey, you have spoken to me after I carried you for 9 months." Oh shit. Hey, for 9 months. Bottom line, it is what it is. The child is going to become a person of their own. Somebody asked him today that it is bad to beat a child for saying no to you. How do you beat a child for saying no? See, my problem is not even just the beating. My problem is what you guys beat for. That's my major challenge. What you actually hit a child for. You hit a child for saying no. You hit a child for crying. You hit a child for reporting. You hit a child for making mistakes. You hit a child for not doing things well that you should correct them. You hit a child for not teaching them what you should have taught them. You hit a child for writing with left hand. There's nothing we don't hit a child for. You hit a child for oversleeping. You hit a child for not doing. You hit a child, like, I don't get it. In Igbo land, they will say emeranyeme. They do us. Because you just find out that you're just hitting a child for no reason. Really, a child said no to you, and then you hit your child. I was having a conversation this morning with my team member, and I said to them that one of those mornings, one of those days, we're having a guest, and my daughter was like, "See, I want to rest today. My daughter loves to cook." And then this girl walks up to you and says, "Today, can I just take some break?" She's not my cook now. If I need a cook, she'll be our higher one back. The girl has been cooking, and all of a sudden, in one day, she now says, "Let me just rest a bit. I will now go haywire and start beating her." Why? Because she said no to me. If you hit a child for saying no to you, you have a problem. It's not the child. You actually have a problem. You actually have a problem. You hit a child for not writing well. The child has come back from work. The child is writing homework. He didn't get it right. You beat the child. Just think about it now. It's even more than a normalized nonsense. Normalized madness. Like, think about it. Who even told us that hitting a child corrects the child? Who is the person? Who told us? Who told us that thing? Who taught you? You see that thing, you need to erase it from your head. And that's why we are raising people who cannot say no. Somebody told me how her boss was molesting her in the office. She couldn't say no to her boss. Now it's her boss. I felt broken. How dare you? Your daughter is being molested, and then the child cannot say, "Excuse me, don't touch my body." Because according to you, you can tell the child to do anything and she does it. You blackmail the child into everything. A child says, "No, can I just take a break?" You say, "Me, have I taken a break before?" It's always about you. You do like this. You always about you. Think about it. Isn't that parenting ego? I said it, you did not do it the way I said it. Is your ego, sir, ma, that is playing on you. Nothing less, nothing more, nothing less. So focus on teaching. Focus on teaching respectful communication by modeling it. By modeling it. Focus on honestly. Somebody said in conclusion, it's madness to hit a child. It is actually. I actually cringe when I see parents who say things like, if I don't, why would you say I should not beat my child? Come on. Just come on. Think it. So focus on teaching and respectful communication. You find out that you too, you have a problem with communication. Last week we started the communication class. And if you're not there, you're on your own. You are not learning. You just want to do free Tuesday lives. Come and learn. There is curated curriculum. See, except you pass yourself through a curated curriculum, change doesn't happen. That's the truth. Change doesn't happen. We beat people for failing. We beat people because they failed. How does that even make sense? For people who are, we say these things and it sounds like it's normal. No, it's not normal to me. If it's normal to you, then there's something wrong. It's not normal at all. Somebody said a child's toddler, 5 years, was beaten for not cutting her nails. Like, how did we get here? How did we get here? So instead of you to feel disrespected, it means it's your feedback. If your children says no in a way that disrespects you, that's your feedback. It means that you have not taught your child how to communicate respectfully. Most of our children actually are very rude because we are also very rude. Can we face it? Can we face it? Some of us are so rude. There are women. Some of us are so rude to our husbands. Your children are seeing you, ma. They can hear you. When you turn, you just say, I beg. They can hear you. When you talk to them too, they just, that's the way you both. Some men are so rude to their wives. As their wives are talking, don't shut up. Your children are there. Your children are there. They can see. In my book, Raising the Independent Thinking Child, right? This is one of my best reads. Okay. And in this book, I was actually sharing how to say no with honor. Even us, we need to learn it. Some of us are so crass, yet we beat our children for being crass. Have you seen your responses on social media before? Have you seen the way you interact? And you beat a child for being rude? Come on, you shouldn't. So I need you to pause. I need you to teach. So when you find out, I told inner circle parents on our 2 days ago, I said, if your child is critical, that is you. That means you're a critical parent. So what you should do is not get angry that you're being criticized. So you should put your children through, guidance. I call it, instead of you doing, how do people call it? You say, I'm criticized constructively. Do constructive guidance. There's a thin line between constructive criticism and killing the person's self-esteem. And if you want to learn about constructive criticism and constructive guidance, go and pay for that communication class. The second module is taking place on Thursday. Jump into there. It's 20,500 naira. Spend your money in what matters. Don't go and buy one shawarma, chairman, whatever. What do you people call it? All those things. It's like 30,000 naira. You will buy it and eat, but you will not pay to attend the class. So it's not free. No, it is not. And there is a limit to what it is that you can learn inside the free system. And there's a limit to where you can get. And it's not a lie. Parenting is not about perfection. It's about progression. So each step you take impacts generation to come. You must be able to focus on growth instead of flawless execution. The problem is that most of us are concentrated on flawless execution to the point that we are actually not growing. Number two reason why you are emotionally triggered is guilt about your parenting choices. Guilt about your parenting choices. Parents often feel triggered when they perceive that they are failing to meet their children's needs or expectations. That guilt is amplified by society. What will they say? The comparison to others. You come on social media, your friend has shared how her children are very calm, very together. You're like, hey, I've not even started. And then you're constantly comparing yourself with your neighbor's child. Are you doing what your neighbor is doing? You have a neighbor that is in the inner circle. Unfortunately, the neighbor is producing the workings of inner circle. And you're watching her and saying, her children are so well behaved. Is it not the same thing I'm doing? You are doing? No, it is not the same thing you are doing that they are doing. No, it's not. It's not. Hello, Shay. It's not the same thing. So you need to actually begin to look at the things that you're doing. So if you are in the place where you are constant, see, your child's behavior, right? It's not a reflection of your work. Your child's behavior is a reflection of what they need to learn, and you need to learn. So if your child is behaving, a certain way, you should be able to sit down and say, okay, my child is not learning what they should learn. See, it doesn't matter whether you hear me say that the twins started cooking at 6. Provided you didn't do the work, you have no right to feel guilty. Guilty about what? Exactly. Did you do the work? So don't feel guilty. Start the work. Because in guilt, we get drowned in the things that is happening. You are focused on, hey, everybody have results. Yeah, and then is either you start to blame yourself or, right, you start to blame the next person. You look for ways they are lying. These people like lying a lot. They are just forming. These people just like to, they are just, the truth is that everybody around you is actually in the inner circle doing the work. So you're there looking for what is, no, it's not true. All these things that they say, they are deceiving us. Some of us don't have time to deceive you. We're actually doing the work. You are actually doing the work. So stop feeling guilty and start doing the work. So it's a reflection of what it is that you're supposed to grow on. If your child does something, tell yourself, I haven't grown here. I haven't grown here. Stop putting pressure on top of your children. You go home, you see something somebody posted on social media. The person has been working for years to create a child that is so responsible. The twins started traveling at age 10. You want to compare yourself with me? Do you know where I'm coming from? How? Start doing the work. So whether your child is 18 and you're listening to me, it's inconsequential. Highly inconsequential. Because the child doesn't know it. You don't know it. So why not learn? And begin to actually work on it. You're looking for what is not lost. What are you looking for? Like we say in Masterpiece, you're looking for what is not lost. You're looking for what isn't lost. You haven't taught it. There's nothing, there's no basis. So the day you wake up is the day you start your journey. Start doing the work. Hey, I saw this person doing. Their children are 18. They can do this. Did you do the work that they did? Before you compare, sit down and ask yourself. So I remember one year, a friend of mine, the husband was like, the twins, the children, we will never behave like this. They are so well behaved. And my friend turned to the man and said, Oga, do you know the kind of work the Ologies do when it comes to parenting? It's like die-hard salvation. And the guy looked at that and said, you wake up and you compare results. Can you be looking at the process? So while you're there, that's why you see that thing that you're watching on social media, you're watching someone's poster and work. That's actually not the process. The process is learned. Results are the things you see. They are glitteratis. And I keep saying it can't get you anywhere. And those things trigger you. And they invoke guilt. And you begin to tell yourself, hey, I'm not reaching anywhere. You get home. You saw that one, 5-year-old is cooking jollof rice. You go home. I told you, your mates are cooking. Look at you here being stupid. Hello. You are the problem. It's not the child. You are comparing results. Compare the work. When you want to compare, the Bible says it's foolishness, comparing one to another. Right? When you want to compare the work. Ask yourself, the work that this person is doing, have I done it? See, some parents have immersed themselves in work. You're in your church. You look at here, my pastor's children are so well behaved. Most of your pastors are in the inner circle. And that's what you don't know. They are quietly learning. They are quietly putting things together. You're there admiring their process. The Lord has helped them. Yes, I agree. But you need to actually put in the work. Attend courses. You don't want to know how many, general overseers we have in the system. You don't want to know. Put in the work. Don't compare your results. Compare the process. When you see someone share a testimony about their parenting, ask them, what do you do? And unfortunately, that's why we get carried away in church. Somebody comes to share testimony. You get carried away. Hey, this God I'm serving, I've not been serving. Have you done the work that the person has done? See, levels day for this thing. Forget. Levels day. You see this journey today. There are people that have sown seeds that can never fail. And they're very confident. They're very confident about it. So the next time you wake up to compare, ask yourself, what work have I done? Your child's behavior is not a reflection of your worth. It's not about you. I don't know what it is. I'm now feeling guilty. It's a reflection of what you need to do, how you need to grow, how your children need to grow, how you need to learn, how your children need to learn. That's what it is. So stand up, do the work, and quit feeling guilty. Nobody's going to save you. You know that man by the pool of Bethesda who said to Jesus, I have no man. When Jesus came to him, he said, why have you been there? Hey, that's how most of us tell stories. Hey, I've been here by the pool of Bethesda. Oh, when the water turns, hey, they will need to put me inside. Nobody, I have no man. Is that what the question? Jesus asked him, would thou be made whole? Started telling stories. Today, I'm telling you, stop telling stories. Get into a course. Get into the Becoming an Emotionally Intelligent Parent course and start working on you. Stop telling stories. Hey, I don't have time for work. Hey, I don't have time. I go to work in the morning. For these other people, it's easy. Oh, for this, you're blaming everybody, but not yourself. Oh, they live in Nigeria. That's why it's so easy. Oh, they live in this. Oh, that's why it's so easy. They don't really have the kind of money I have. That's why it's so easy. Oh, they are rich now. Their money. These are the kind of stupid excuses I hear people give for the work you should do. For the work you should do. You trip yourself for the better part of your parenting instead of getting to work. So get to work. Get to work. So guilt about your parenting choices. If you made wrong choices, climb down from the table and climb to the new one. And that's why I love the inner circle. As you're giving the inner circle parents the buzz moves, boom, 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 they are climbing down and wearing a new clothes. And we move. That's how we move in the inner circle. It's movement. It is not okay, coach. How do we do it? We move. Hey, we move. No time to analysis that paralyzes your process and yourself. No time. No time to argue whether this is the same. Is it really okay? Are you sure it's going to work? Are you sure? Shift your focus from guilt to begin to walk the journey, to begin to teach, begin to guide. Guilt will not serve you nada. So we move. That's how we do it. Are you ready to move? In the yard is a comment. We move like we move. Sometimes you're reading something in the yard. A book review was happening. I was like, this is actually very correct. You swap what is wrong for what is right, and you move. No time to check time. No time to check time. Because we are time bound. Parenting is a time bound project. How do you get the time to be arguing what you should be doing when time is going? By 18, you don't change guard. Your child don't work out. You are sitting down there and you are still arguing. What exactly are you arguing? I remember Dr. Unse sharing on my intentional parenting journey, and I was like, Dr. Unse, you were running like a fire, this thing. Dr. Unse said, Coach, I didn't have time to argue nothing because there was no time. My first child was an adult already. So I needed to run like my life depended on it. That's it. We're time bound. Parenting is seed time and harvest. There's a time for planting. There's a time for harvest. If you miss it, the planting time, you're going to be in trouble. So there's no time. It's for us to implement. All right? And then we move. Number 3, feeling overwhelmed or stretched thin. You juggle multiple responsibilities. You feel emotionally triggered. Any small disruption, demand from your children. Move. You're everywhere. You're shouting. The truth of the matter is that you have taken on the messiahness. As you know, you are the messiah, the one that will save your children. You are the one that you want to do everything. You are juggling, or you come back home. You are cooking, you wash plates, you wash clothes, so that whenever your children are talking, you say, do you know how I hard work work hard. Sometimes you do those things so that you'll be able to actually hold them on the jugular. Why? 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 So if you are in that place feeling overwhelmed, ask yourself, why exactly am I feeling overwhelmed as a parent? Parenting is hard. I agree with you. It's not a spa, but overwhelm is not the option. Overwhelm is not the. You feel overwhelmed because you have not been able to do the things you were supposed to do and raise your children to become as independent as they should. I was looking at the post that we created. I think the teams are on Instagram, right? Wrote a post this morning on Instagram, and I was talking about the parent who is an overgiver. An overgiver. You are constantly sacrificing. Yeah. You are constantly, giving you everything. Come back. Hey, the everything. I know all things. I can do all things. I do. And you are everywhere. You want to carry your children along. Hey, I cannot leave my children with anybody. Cannot stay alone. My children cannot. When you hear somebody sharing how the children will be able to manage the house, you say, no, that's not me. I'm born to be a parent for life. Oshe, you will be overwhelmed, Sama. You will be overwhelmed. You need to prioritize self-care. You need to prioritize yourself. You need to prioritize. And you need to prioritize raising independent thinking children. You see this book, it should be beside your bed every morning. Even if you have a 1-year-old, raise them to be independent thinking. It saves your life 99% of the time. You are saved, literally. I say it with all sense of accomplishment and responsibility. The twins started to cook at 6. By the time they were turning 10, I was a popping parent. I was popping, man. I come back from work, there's food on the table. Can you have a help? Yet in the yard, I usually would tell parents in the yard that my children are trained servants. When you have my children in the house, they'll serve you to the teeth. It's called training. That's what it's called. Training is not hitting a child. It's not carrying cane everywhere and shouting, "You must obey me, obey me." That's not parenting. That's just you hitting on your ego. And you will continue to actually suffer. The moment you don't step back to ask yourself, am I really parenting my children or am I just hitting on my ego? My children are very, they're very distinct. Oh, they're there. You end up becoming a parenting matter. Parenting matter though. You matter yourself. You matter yourself. People go, no, everything I've done for my children. And then when the children now grow older, and then they leave your house. After everything I did for you people, after everything, self-care, self-development is self-care. Self-care is the biggest thing you can do for yourself. One of the reasons that we have disgruntled parents is because they left themselves and they were chasing children who, according to them, you are my retirement plan. Once I retire, my children will take care of me and all of that. You see all those things? Stand up, wake up, and begin to raise yourself to. Begin to become also. And let me even tell you the dangerous thing about not becoming. You become a loved person who is irrelevant. That's the danger. Your children will love you, but you've not developed yourself. They say, I know mommy doesn't know how to do other things. My mother is BBT, born before technology. They won't give you name. They can't come to you for wisdom. They can't come to you they just come and say, I know that mommy loves us. Is that the only thing you have to offer? If love is the only thing you have to offer in your parenting, that's not parenting. That's not parenting. You offer wisdom. You offer wisdom. And when you do, you don't become disgruntled. Your life is not centered. Hey, your child fails one subject. You want to kill yourself because all your life revolves around a child that you have to be successful, have to be perfect. That's why. Your child is not your retirement plan. No. You are your own retirement plan. Better stand up and wake up and smell the coffee. The truth of the matter is, we would need to sit back and grow ourselves. Your children won't even come to you because you do not have anything to offer. Most of you, think about it, settle in so that it not be like there's plenty bad boys. Settle in. Do you really go to your parents to ask for advice? Is it not only the ones that have area of expertise that you ask for advice on? My dad is into properties. Any of us that want to do anything property, you go to property now. Like you don't have a choice. You are choiceless. A man is like sitting down on that place with his hand raised up. He will offer you the latest kind of information. If he doesn't have it, I won't go to him because my money will go to ruins. Hello, build yourself so that you can build your children and so that you can have peace. Get into developing yourself. Stop not knowing what is happening. You just become old and then you just become love. Love. That's all there is. That's all there is. Stop living through your children. Live your life. And this is one thing that you must tell yourself as you're growing. So you overwhelm, stretching yourself too thin. Your children don't know how to do anything. You have a 10-year-old who can cook nothing. Like, really? You come home and you cook. Some of you are still batting your 7-year-olds. As in, you give them a bath. Wow. Really wow. As in 7-year-olds who are not independent to actually give themselves a bath. Know where to wash. Know what to do. Then you're not training. You're just raising people. You're just going. By the time the children are turning 13, they don't know how to do anything. You don't know how to do anything. You didn't teach them. Stop feeling overwhelmed. Do the work. Build yourself. Build yourself. Somebody said when I asked my mother for advice, she started the theology of our parents. That's a good one. You will not go to that mother again. Train. Jump down from your ego. Number 4, fear of judgment. You feel triggered when your children's behavior reflects on them. You are afraid for criticisms. You are afraid that people are going to criticize you. Of course, most times, because of that, you overreact. Most times, because of that, you fight. That's why you slap a child in an airport. Come on. Because what? Maka, why? Because you want to actually show people that you're an Undaboski parent. You know, I know how to do discipline. This discipline thing is my thing. No child will ever disrespect me. You know, I shared a video where a child spat on the father. Everybody was just triggered. If this is my child, I'll come with mother. It shows the level of your thought process. What it shows. It shows the level of your thought process. It shows the level of how you have built yourself. You get triggered by what it is you think people will think. The goal of parenting is not to control your child. It's to empower them to control themselves. That's the goal of parenting. To empower them to control themselves. And you know one of the reasons? You have not been able to build you. So you still get triggered emotionally with things you shouldn't get triggered emotionally with. Your emotional stability, when you become emotionally stable, you are able to see issues like that and pause. That's the truth. You pause and you think. If you become emotional, I'm telling you because I've been there. You see that place where you're like, if I will kill the child, that will have been there. That's how people who have a little tint of madness actually behave. All of us claim that we turned out okay. We are not okay. There is something wrong with us. Every single one of us. We were raised by a generation who didn't understand who they were. Trust me, if you continue to lie to yourself, you will continue to go around in circles. You will continue to go around in circles. Then you will find yourself, because of what people will say, you are constantly fighting your children. You're constantly... See, a parent who cannot discipline themselves have no business disciplining a child. That's the truth. You have no business disciplining a child. You can't discipline yourself. Most of us can't. Most of us can't hold ourselves. Most of us are triggered. And you know what? You will be triggered, all right? If you are afraid, you've not been able to deal with yourself, if you do not understand, some of these triggers, you will be triggered. See, parenting from fear creates obedient children, but it destroys their ability to think for themselves. Let me say that again. Parenting from fear creates obedient children. No doubt, your children are going to be very obedient, but it's going to destroy their ability to think for themselves. So many parents teach obedience, but few teach character and integrity. The first one creates compliance. The second one creates value and character. I say that again. Many parents teach obedience. Very few teach integrity. The first one creates compliance. The other one creates character. Which one are you creating? Which one are you creating? So it is very important that you begin to actually think from that place. And you know what? You can't really do these things except you work on your emotions. It's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. You will fight, you will struggle. You will say, today, after hearing this class, I'm not going to react that way again. All the things I've learned, I'll put it down. I will start practicing it. You will see yourself. You so double. I've been there. I've made resolutions on how I'm going to stop, being, hey, I'm not going to say it again. I will never, shit, it is a lie. It's not going to happen. You will fight yourself every day. You find yourself saying, hey, that's why your children will say today, you say you have changed. Tomorrow you have not changed. That's what happens. You're not building you. You're not building from the inside. You are confessing, confession. We must be able to move from the place of confession and profession to the place of being able to actually walk in on our faith. And that's one of the problems we have in churches today. We're in the place of confession, profession. That's why many people in the church are not actually building businesses. Meanwhile, God has actually given us the ability to stand tall and become the light of the world. Who are we? We're people under. We have our light under the pusher. Because we're still in the state of profession. We've not entered the place of making covenants. That's what parenting is about. That's how living is about. You make covenants. You don't just make professions. You learn, you build you from the inside. It's not profession, it's not confession, it's not affirmation. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. So you must be able to actually begin to think from this place, right? And lastly, unresolved personal experiences. Unresolved personal experiences. This is another thing that triggers you. Past trauma, unmet needs, unresolved conflict. It can make you more sensitive. Sometimes the problem is not your child. Somebody told me that anytime she said something, I read it in one of the communities. Anytime she said something, say, make sure that you remove this thing from backyard before you close the door. It's okay. Do you mean I should remove it from the backyard before I close the door? It triggers her. She starts shouting. Why will you say that to me? You're not listening to me. Meanwhile, that's a beautiful way to listen. The child is practicing listening skills. And I asked her, I said, did your father do that to you or your mother? She said, yes, my father still does it today. Be careful of where you're coming from. Where you're coming from can kill your parenting before you arrive. I say that again. Be careful of where you're coming from. Where you're coming from can kill your parenting even before you arrive. And that's why I always tell the story of Jephthah. Jephthah was a man who dealt with an unresolved trauma that costed him his own child. The Bible actually tells us that Jephthah was a mighty man of valor, but had a harlot as a mother. When Jephthah was called to come and lead a particular tribe, he said, you guys you're telling me that my mother was this, my mother. That's the first thing he remembered. And you know what? Jephthah needed to prove a point. That was why Jephthah said to God that he was making a vow of giving anything that is alive that comes out of his house. Who asked him for the vow? Jephthah was the only one who made the vow, but who did it? Who was not asked? And you know what? It costed him his only living offspring. And that was the end of Jephthah's lineage. May that not be yours. Because many times we're carrying trauma from where we're coming from. We're coming from where we're coming from a lot. In the yard we stay, we're coming from a lot. A lot. And a lot. And all our allotness is crowding us. All our allotness. So when your children does something, for instance, the people who hit children for crying is not because the children have a problem. It's because you have a problem. Somebody has told you that it's wrong for people to cry around you. That what you do when people cry is to slap them. It's in your head. That's your trauma. It's not your child's problem. It's not your child's problem. So You're coming from a lot, you get triggered. Your child will do something. When you were growing up, they told you when an adult is talking, don't look the adult into the eyes. So if you're talking and your child is looking at you in the eyes, you get angry. That's just your trauma. It's not a child. Not a child. Meanwhile, looking at someone in the eye is actually a good way of communication. Just look at it now. Normalize nonsense. I want you to reflect on your own triggers, their origins, and commit to join. You see, this class, this emotional intelligence class, is a compulsory class if you're going to succeed when it comes to intentional parenting. There's no other way. I didn't know that. I learned it very early in my journey. There is no other way. I thought I could pray it away. I thought it could be part of my. If you can't check my prayer points, I may leave winner now. I will have prayer card, but you can't check my prayer card in the early days, right? First 5 years of marriage. Is God give me the calming skills, give me the spirit of emotional intelligence. So we are, they know they pram into prayer. It is when you are asking God, give me that spirit. God sent you a class like this. That's what you need. That's exactly what you need. So if these are the major triggers, deal with it. You identify them, you deal with it, you parent, you cultivate. If you don't equip your children with values, the world will equip them with a lot of distractions. There's a lot that is going on. There's a lot that is happening. So raising a child without teaching responsibility is you actually, creating a circle of neglect. Your parenting, the foundation of parenting begins and ends with you. It's not with a school. It's not in a religious body. It's not in a community. It begins and ends with you. Stop the Adamic parenting. It is not me. It is school. It is the child. Anytime your child makes mistake, the first thing you say is, it's not in my house. So maybe you picked it from cartoon. Maybe you picked it. Who put on the cartoon in the house? Is it me? We are raised not to even take responsibility. Do you know? Yeah, we're raised not to take responsibility because our parents didn't take responsibility. They tell you, you're the reason I slapped you. Yeah, you too, you say it to your child, I'm fighting you. You make me shout. How can you even say somebody makes you shout? Can you take responsibility for once? You shouted. It's you that shouted. It's not the next person. Until you take responsibility, you cannot move forward. So get into the EI course. This is me. This is my preaching for you today. Get into the EI course. Save yourself all the many things. Good thing is you still have the early bird offer. Team still left it to the end of the month. So that will be, an amazing thing for you to deal with. All right. So that you will be able to actually, put all of that in perspective. Okay. The flyer is right on my system. All right. We are also doing the 5-day challenge. But people have said, oh, I'm confused. Is the 5-day challenge, is it starting on Monday? It's just a short 5-day challenge that in preparation for the inner circle, the EI course, we're doing the 5-day challenge Monday to Friday. So register quickly so that you can partake of the challenge, right? So that you can partake of the challenge. Now, it's going to be it's the first of its kind. It's going to help you to measure your emotional temperature, know where you are in those 5 days, and boom, you will be able to actually work out a lot of things. All right. So this is where I am going to bring the golf to come and do that short session that I promised you. Did you even share this thing with? Did you even share it with? Did you share it with us? All right. Let's know. Let's have. Did you share this link with friends and family? Let's have you come in. Let's have you. So of course, just give us a few minutes. We're gonna bring golf up, and then we will be able to just have a very short conversation in a few minutes, to come. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that you've registered for the EI course. And if you've registered for the EI course, you want to send a message now. Don't let this early bird offer, take you out. After this one, it's 20,500, right? Don't miss it. All righty. Thank you so much for being. Do you know what your emotional capacity is as a parent? My name is Wendy Oluga, and I'm the founder of the Intentional Parent Academy. In the next 5 days, I'm going to be showing you how to identify where you are as a parent when it comes to what I call your emotional thermostat. Yes, starting from the February 3rd to the 8th, I'm going to give you access to my well-crafted 5-day challenge to test this thing for you. Now, this is only available to parents who have already registered for the Becoming an Emotionally Intelligent Parent course. You want to register now. See you in there. Okay, so I'm back here and I have Gov in the building. I just had to steal him a little bit so that you can do the conversation a bit and share with us on a bit of communication. I've had a lot of people ask me about communication between husband and wife after our communication class last week. If you are not in that class, you might be taking yourself off, on this conversation and all of that. But this is something that you can learn a bit from, right? Even if you were not in that class. But I will advise you, okay, get into the class to be able to understand this conversation. But this is just me trying to answer, right, random questions about communication in marriage. I've decided that this year I'm going to, from time to time, make sure that you have a bit of what it is that's happening in your home and between your spouses, since I am very core in teaching you about you and your children. We'll have a few minutes to go. Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Okay, so good afternoon, everybody, and it's great to be here. Did you enjoy this class? Because I was in the class from the beginning to the end. Emotional intelligence, it starts with you. And I'm here to just tell you 3 stories, 3 short stories. And when I'm done with the stories, I'm done for today. And I believe that after those stories, you would have something better on that. Now, the first story has to do with a wife who loved affirmations. And this wife loved to have her husband tell her, "You're beautiful, you've made a nice hair, your nails look nice, oh, you cooked lovely food." She never got that from the husband. Eventually, she started getting those affirmations from a colleague, a male colleague. By the way, all the stories I'm telling you are true life stories. She started getting those affirmations from a male colleague, and it didn't take long before she fell in love with that male colleague. The case is still on. Story 2. There's this person who was always having issues with her husband, the husband having issues with her, and the lady was fond of having, bringing these issues to her husband immediately he comes back from work. So every time this husband comes back from work, the first thing he meets at the door is the problems and the conflicts that the lady wanted resolved immediately. Now the man began to run away from home. So he will wait and he will say, "I'm hanging out with the boys." And he will sit down with the boys till about 12 a.m. when he knows that this wife is sleeping already and tired. Then he will sneak back home. Early in the morning, he will sneak back out. The case is still on. The third story has to do with a husband who was always yelling at his wife. I mean, his way of talking to his wife was raising his voice and blaring his eyes and shouting down on the woman. Apparently, he had married this lady when she was young. And so I think she was probably about maybe 20 or 19, and he was much older. So he was always shouting on her, and she would just cower. Then came the day that he shouted on her, and she shouted back. He shouted back, hit him very hard, and it was the man that cowed this time. We're still solving that problem today. And it looks like now they're saying maybe the woman has a mental problem. She doesn't have a mental problem. She had just been pushed to the wall. What have I just told you now? I've just told you 3 stories. The first one borders on what to communicate. So there is a what that needs to be communicated in marriage. The second story has to do with when to communicate. So there's a when that needs to be communicated in marriage. And the third story has to do with how to communicate. And so there is a way to actually communicate in marriage. If one or all of these indices of communication are wrong in your marriage, you probably have a communication problem in your marriage. And the funny thing is that of the 3 major issues of marriage, communication is the most important. The other 2 are finance and sex. But if you get your communication right, you will get every other thing right. So like she rightfully said, she said some of you had been reaching out to her to say, "Look, how do we now communicate in our marriage?" And she said she's going to bring me to come and tell you, I have just told you what the problem is. The solution is actually waiting for you. So we have a course that is starting on February 19th to 20th. And we will definitely give you everything that you need in that course. By the way, when it comes to communication, did you know that my wife and I had communication issues when we got married? Shocker. So when we got married, the first few weeks of marriage, my wife told me, you are not a good communicator. And I was already a motivational speaker there, and I was wondering, why are you saying I'm not a good communicator? You know what? Both of us went and enrolled ourselves in a communication course, and the story changed. And from that time till now, 16 years going now, our communication has become top notch. I hope I've helped somebody here today.
Yes, you have. I'm sure somebody is trying to hear and listen to the amicable of the other part of communication. Join the conclave. Do you want to hear that story? God always tells somebody say, how did conclave? I said in conclave. They say, Coach, you are a different person inside the conclave.
Yeah,
You don't have, right. No, I copy. That's the popping wife place, right? So basically the whole idea is that you need to work on your communication for you and your spouse. And if you're that person who is struggling with communicating, you have a marriage problem, Biko, go and solve it, right? Go and solve your marriage problem. Go and get through to the Marriage Still Academy, and you will be able to be part of that class, and it's going to save your life, literally. Right? So for all those who are asking me, how do I not tell my husband? My husband said this, my husband did this. How do I tell him? I'm not a marriage counselor. I do the one that I know how to do, parenting. And you can see that I wear my clothes very well when it comes to parenting. But still for marriage, please, the Marriage Still Academy will solve all your problems. All right. So reach out to the Marriage Still Academy for all of the details. And of course, they have an early bird offer for that class, communication class. You want to be there. Trust me, that offer ends today. Am I correct?
No,
tomorrow.
The end of this month. That's
okay.
Tomorrow. End of this month, it ends.
End of the week. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, sir, for coming live to come and share that part of it. But don't worry, I promise, I'm going to bring golf to the inner circle. See, sorry, if the inner circle parents will get it, right? So I'm going to bring golf to the inner circle to share a bit more about, some things about, of course, as we go. Working on your marriage is a key aspect of working on your parenting. I've come to realize that in all of these triggers that I shared, do you know that a bad marriage is a trigger? I only shared 5. It's not limited to 5, right? Poor communication in marriage is a trigger. Is a trigger to what it is that's going to happen in your parenting. You're going to fight your children if your husband is fighting you. Is it fight that they do?
Yeah, it's fine.
If your husband, if your wife is giving you grief, that's the way my pastor says it. If your wife is giving you grief, you can't sleep well. Your children too are going to also have issues. Trust me, you need to work out your salvation with fear
and trembling.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been an amazing time. Of course, if you want more details from for the Marriage Still, reach out to any of our team members. This number is on our timeline, yes. Or you can reach out to anyone who will share with you all of the details. Somebody says short, precise, impactful. I love it. All right, that's how we work here. Okay, so that's where we end. For your parenting, go and register for emotional intelligence class. Don't forget that this early bird offer ends at the end of the week. Oh yeah, bye. See ya.